Man, I've always known I didn't want to just live paycheck to paycheck. Every month felt like a grind. Wake up, work, pay bills, sleep, repeat. I kept thinking there has to be more than this. I had dreams, big dreams, fancy apartment, traveling, finally feeling like I'm winning at life. But reality was brutal. My bank account barely covered rent, my job was exhausting, and every time I tried to imagine a way out, it felt impossible. I started brainstorming seriously, not just one day I'll get lucky dreaming, but real planning. I scribbled notes, made lists, looked online for ideas, anything. Side hustles, small businesses, weird online gigs. I even tried selling stuff I didn't need. Every idea felt like a shot in the dark, but at least it was something. And that's when it hit me. If I didn't start acting now, I'd be stuck forever. So I told myself straight up, I don't care how many times I fail. I'm going to figure this out. That night, I stayed up writing out a plan, thinking about risks, imagining obstacles. I knew the road was going to be rough. I knew I'd get knocked down a bunch of times. But deep down, I felt this fire, this stubborn refusal to give up. I wasn't rich, not even close, but for the first time, I felt like I was actually starting to move in that direction. And that was all I needed to take the first step. The next week was brutal. I threw myself into everything I could think of. Freelance gigs, deliveries, odd jobs, anything that could make a few extra bucks. I even tried starting a tiny online store, selling stuff I barely knew how to market. But every time I thought I was getting somewhere, something went wrong. Orders got canceled, clients ghosted me, some side hustles turned out to be scams. I'd pour hours into something, only to end up with nothing. There were nights I just sat on my bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. I felt like the universe was laughing at me, throwing obstacle after obstacle. And yet, I couldn't quit. Every failure lit a fire inside me. I learned fast. I took notes on what worked, what didn't. I tweaked my strategies. I reminded myself over and over, this is part of the journey. I'm not done yet. By the end of the week, I was exhausted, physically and mentally. But I'd also gained something invaluable. Experience, knowledge, the stubborn feeling that no matter how many times I fell, I'd get back up. And that was my first real step towards something bigger. I just didn't know it yet. After weeks of grinding, I finally got a tiny win. Not life-changing, not even close, but enough to feel like maybe things could actually work. One of my little online gigs brought in more money than I expected. A client liked my work so much, they recommended me to someone else. And suddenly, I had more projects lined up. It wasn't perfect. I was still juggling 3 jobs at once, barely sleeping and stressing about bills every day. But for the first time, I felt that flicker of hope. I realized this wasn't just luck. My hard work, my persistence, it was starting to pay off. I started tracking everything: hours worked, money coming in, expenses. I made small tweaks to my strategy, testing what worked and cutting what didn't. Each little improvement felt like stacking bricks, slow, tedious, but building something solid. And yeah, I hit plenty of dead ends too. More scams, more failed attempts. Some days I felt like I'd run out of energy, but then I'd remember that tiny bit of success, that first real paycheck from a side hustle, and I'd keep going. That week, I realized something huge. Progress isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's just small victories that add up. And if I kept pushing, kept learning, kept trying, maybe one day, all those small wins would turn into something much bigger. I thought I was ready to take a bigger leap. I found an opportunity that seemed promising, something that could finally make a real difference. I poured almost everything I had into it, all my savings, late nights, every ounce of energy. I was convinced this was it. But it blew up in my face, big time. The project failed. Clients backed out. Some of the money I'd invested was gone. I felt like I had been hit by the freight train. Sitting on my bed that night, I stared at the ceiling, numb. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this, I thought. I wanted to quit. I wanted to crawl under a blanket and pretend the world didn't exist. But something inside me refused. I remembered all the little wins that got me here. I remembered the sleepless nights, the effort, the stubborn refusal to give up. And I realized failing isn't the end. It's part of the process. So I cleaned up the mess, took notes on every mistake, and started planning again. I refused to let this failure define me. Instead, I treated it like fuel, like a warning that my next move had to be smarter, sharper, better. And deep down, I knew one thing for certain. The only way to succeed was to keep moving forward, no matter how many times I fell.
After that massive failure, I could have given up. Seriously, I had every reason to throw in the towel and go back to the grind of just scraping by. But something inside me refused. I told myself, if I quit now, all this effort is wasted. I can do better. I have to. So I started studying like my life depended on it, because honestly, it did. I watched tutorials, read articles, listened to podcasts about business, marketing, investing, anything that could help me avoid the mistakes I'd made. I analyzed every failure, every misstep, and made a plan to do it differently next time. I picked one idea, small but promising, and went all in. This time, I paced myself. I double-checked everything. I reached out to mentors, asked for advice, tested strategies in tiny increments. Slowly, I started to see results. Not millions yet, but small wins that added up. Every successful step, no matter how small, was a reminder that I could do this. I was learning to trust myself, to make smarter decisions, to stay patient even when it felt like nothing was happening. And with every success, I felt a little more confident, a little closer to the life I'd always dreamed about. By the end of the month, the numbers were finally moving in the right direction. For the first time, I felt a real sense of momentum, and it was addictive. I knew this time, if I kept going, I could actually turn my dreams into reality.
Then it happened. That moment I've been grinding for, dreaming about, and fighting for every single day. One of my projects, carefully planned, tested, and executed, took off. And I mean really took off. The money started coming in faster than I could process. Small wins became bigger wins. Bigger wins became, well, I still can't believe how fast it escalated. It was surreal. I watched my numbers grow on the screen, and for a second, I just sat there, frozen, thinking, is this really happening? Every sleepless night, every failure, every moment of doubt, it all led to this, and it felt incredible. People started noticing, clients, friends, even family. Opportunities I'd only dreamed about started landing at my doorstep. I realized that all the mistakes, all the setbacks, weren't just failures. They were lessons that prepared me for this exact moment. And the crazy part? It didn't feel like luck anymore. It felt like proof that persistence, learning from mistakes, and refusing to quit could actually pay off. Every small step, every risk, every almost quit moment, it all added up. For the first time, I felt like I was in control, like I'd finally broken free from the endless cycle of struggle. And honestly, it was addicting. I wanted to push further, dream bigger, and see just how far I could take this.
Looking back now, it all feels surreal. Every failure, every sleepless night, every risk, it all led to this. I went from barely scraping by to actually living the life I had dreamed about for so long. Not just money in the bank, but freedom, confidence, and the knowledge that I can take control of my future. I still remember the guy I was in the beginning, stressed, broke, and full of doubt. And now, I've got real opportunities, real choices, and the kind of security I never imagined. It wasn't luck. It was persistence. It was learning. It was refusing to quit when every single sign told me to. And honestly, the most important thing I've learned isn't about the money. It's about belief. Belief in yourself, belief in the process, and belief that even when it seems impossible, taking step after step will eventually get you somewhere. So yeah, I made it. I got rich. But more than that, I became someone who knows how to turn failure into fuel and dreams into reality. And that feels priceless.
Before you go, hit that like button and subscribe for more unbelievable stories just like this one.
See you in the next story.